A white teacher, standing at the front of the classroom, eyes the young black girl who had just raised her hand. Without hesitation, the teacher's voice cuts through the air with a sharp, condescending tone, mocking the girl for simply asking a question. "You're interrupting the lesson again. How typical," she says. Her words dripping with disdain. The entire class goes silent, feeling the tension rise. The girl's face burns with embarrassment. She had only wanted clarification, but now she's being ridiculed in front of her classmates. The teacher's harsh words sting, and she can feel her chest tighten, her hands trembling as she tries to stay composed. The classroom, usually a safe space, now feels hostile and cold. The teacher continues to berate her, calling her disrespectful, unfairly targeting her for something she didn't deserve. The girl doesn't respond. She knows better than to argue in this moment. But the hurt is clear in her eyes. As the teacher's words echo in her ears, the girl can feel the weight of the stares from her classmates. Some are watching in uncomfortable silence, while others look away. It's as if no one dares to speak up. But what the teacher doesn't know is that the girl's dad, an influential lawyer, has just been informed of the situation. He's rushing to the school, ready to take action. This isn't just about a classroom incident anymore. It's about standing up against injustice. The teacher, oblivious to who's coming, continues to scold the girl, unaware that the situation is about to flip. The girl's dad, a man known for his unwavering sense of justice, is about to make his presence known. What happens next will shock everyone in that room. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below. The teacher's voice continues to echo through the classroom, harsh and unrelenting. You think you can just interrupt whenever you feel like it. You're making this all about you, she snaps at the young black girl, whose eyes are now lowered in humiliation. The classroom falls into an uncomfortable silence, with the other students watching nervously, unsure whether to intervene. The girl, trying to hold back her tears, grips her pencil tighter, staring at her desk. She wasn't trying to make a scene. She simply had a question about the lesson, and instead of helping, the teacher chose to attack her in front of everyone. Are you even listening, or is your mind somewhere else? The teacher continues, her words like daggers aimed directly at the girl's dignity. The girl's heart races, and she feels the weight of the judgment of her classmates. This was not a normal classroom exchange. It was clear to everyone that the teacher had targeted her for something that felt more personal than academic. The girl had endured moments like this before. Subtle comments, sideways glances, but today it was different. It was as if the teacher's animosity had been building up for a long time, and today was the day it all came crashing down. Despite the humiliation, the girl stays silent. She knows that speaking up in this moment could only make things worse. She had learned over the years that speaking out often resulted in more ridicule or punishment. So instead, she tries to disappear in the background of the classroom. As the teacher turns away to write on the board, the girl looks up for just a moment, gathering the courage to breathe deeply. But the moment doesn't last long before the classroom door opens, and in walks her father, his presence commanding the room. Her father, a lawyer who had fought for justice his entire career, immediately locks eyes with the teacher. Without a word, his stern expression speaks volumes. The students, now murmuring to themselves, watch the scene unfold. They don't yet know the full story, what brought this powerful man to the school. But they can feel the shift in the atmosphere. This is no ordinary parent-teacher interaction. Something is about to change. The teacher turns, clearly startled by the unexpected intrusion, her confident demeanor faltering just a little. "You need to step outside for a moment," she says to the girl, but this time there's no fire in her voice, only fear of the father standing in the doorway. The teacher hesitates for a moment, her gaze shifting from the girl to her father standing tall in the doorway. She was unprepared for what was coming, and the tension in the air is palpable. The room is silent except for the low murmurs of the other students, who are now fully aware that something serious is happening. The father steps forward, his presence firm yet calm, a stark contrast to the fiery tension that has filled the classroom. He locks eyes with the teacher, and for the first time the teacher feels a flicker of doubt. The authoritative man standing before her is not just any parent. He is a lawyer, a man who has fought for justice his entire life. She can feel the weight of his stare, and it shakes her. "Is this how you treat my daughter?" he asks, his voice even but filled with quiet intensity. "You humiliate her in front of the class for simply asking a question?" The teacher falters, her mouth opening and closing, unsure of how to respond. She wasn't prepared for the confrontation. Her earlier accusations had been based on a bias she thought she could get away with. But now, faced with the reality of a father who would not let his daughter be treated unfairly, the power dynamic has shifted. She can no longer hold her ground with the same confidence she had moments ago. The students look on, some with uneasy expressions, others silently rooting for the girl's father. This isn't just about one girl being humiliated. It's about standing up for what's right, challenging authority, and making sure that the injustices are called out. "I'm sorry, but this isn't just a misunderstanding," the father continues, his voice growing more serious. "This is a clear case of discrimination, and you've done it in front of the whole class. If you have an issue with my daughter, you should address it with me first, not with her." The teacher's face flushes with embarrassment, and she stumbles over her words, unable to form a coherent response. The power she once held over the situation is slipping through her fingers, and she knows it. The father's words, backed by years of experience and a deep sense of justice, have left her speechless. "I don't know what you thought was going to happen here," the father adds, "but this is not how we treat our children, not in my presence, not in anyone's presence. This kind of behavior ends now." The teacher looks around the room at the silent students, all eyes now on her. She knows that she has lost their respect. The classroom, once a place where she held control, now feels alien to her. As the father continues to stand tall in front of the teacher, an air of authority fills the room. His words have clearly made an impact, and the teacher seems to shrink under the weight of his presence. She's no longer the one in control. Her previous harshness has been replaced with uncertainty. But just as the tension reaches its peak, the unexpected twist happens. The classroom door opens again, this time with a quiet click. A woman steps in, her confident stride immediately commanding attention. It's the principal. The students recognize her at once. She's known for her no-nonsense attitude and quick decision-making, and her presence in the room shifts the atmosphere even further. The father turns slightly, acknowledging the principal's arrival without losing his focus on the teacher. His face, though calm, now holds an expression of quiet resolve, as though he already knows what's about to happen. The principal scans the room, her sharp gaze quickly noting the situation. She looks at the teacher, then to the father, and finally at the girl, who has remained silent throughout the confrontation, her head held high. The principal's eyes soften, and she speaks up. "Is there a problem here, Miss Richards?" the principal asks the teacher, her tone measured but firm. The teacher, already flustered from the earlier exchange, stumbles over her words trying to explain her actions. But before she can finish, the principal raises a hand, signaling for silence. "Miss Richards," the principal says, her voice taking on a more authoritative tone, It has come to my attention that there have been several complaints about your treatment of students, particularly those from diverse backgrounds. It seems this issue with our student here is just the latest in a long line. The teacher's face turns red as the reality of the situation sinks in. The principal isn't just here to support her. In fact, she's here to hold her accountable for her actions. "But the teacher begins, but the principal doesn't let her finish. "I've already spoken with the parents of other students who've faced similar behavior." The principal continues, her eyes narrowing. "You're out of line, and this behavior will not be tolerated." The father's expression doesn't change, but there's a quiet sense of satisfaction in his eyes. He knows that his daughter's ordeal is not going to be swept under the rug. The principal has made it clear that accountability is on the way. The teacher's shoulders slump in defeat. The students, who had been watching in silence, now look at each other in a mixture of surprise and relief. The tension in the room lifts slightly, but the lesson remains clear. Standing up to injustice doesn't just affect one person. It can shift the entire dynamic. The girl, still standing quietly, feels a sense of vindication. Her father's bravery and the principal's intervention have not only protected her, but also sent a message to everyone in the room. No one is above accountability. The room falls into a heavy silence after the principal's intervention. The teacher stands frozen, her face a deep shade of crimson, as the realization of her wrongdoing begins to sink in. The students, who had witnessed the entire exchange, now shift uncomfortably in their seats. They're no longer just passive observers. The power of what they've just seen is palpable. The father, standing tall beside his daughter, watches as the teacher's defiance turns into a humbling moment of reckoning. He knows that while the principal's words have made an impact, the real change will happen in how the teacher is held accountable by the students, the staff, and the community. Before anyone can speak, the door to the classroom opens once more, and a few other teachers, who had heard the commotion, peer in. Word of what's happening in the room has spread quickly through the school, and it's clear that this situation is far from over. One teacher steps inside, her expression serious but supportive. She glances at the girl, then at the father, and nods. She has been a quiet observer of the teacher's behavior in the past and has had concerns of her own. But now, it seems, she's ready to take action. "Is everything all right here?" the new teacher asks, her voice calm yet firm. The principal nods, turning to the new teacher with a slight look of approval. "Everything will be all right. We're addressing the situation," she says, her tone reflecting the confidence that comes with standing up for what's right. But the tension in the air is still thick, and the father's voice breaks the silence. "What happens now?" he asks, his words steady, though his eyes reveal his concerns. The principal turns toward him, meeting his gaze with equal resolve. "The next steps are simple. We will start by investigating this incident, and Ms. Richards will be placed on leave while we conduct the review." At this moment, a ripple of murmurs spreads through the classroom. The students have been listening intently, and as they process the information, the message is clear. Justice will be done. The teacher will not escape accountability. One by one, the students begin to nod in agreement, showing their silent support for the girl. The girl, who had been quiet up until now, looks up at her father, her eyes filled with both relief and pride. She had been humiliated, but now, thanks to her father's courage and the principal's swift actions, she no longer has to endure in silence. As the teacher slowly walks out of the room, her shoulders slumped and her head down, the weight of the room shifts. She is no longer the one in control. The students are the ones empowered by the events that have unfolded. They understand that standing up to injustice, no matter the cost, can change everything. The principal turns to the students. I want everyone to know that we will not tolerate discrimination in this school. No one is above the rules. And with those words, the atmosphere in the room lightens just slightly. The students realize they are witnessing a significant change, a turning point that will echo through the halls for days to come. The girl, her father, and the principal have become symbols of strength, resilience, and the power of standing up for what's right. As the girl walks toward the door, her father by her side, they leave the room with heads held high. They know that this moment will be remembered, not just by the students, but by everyone who witnessed it. Their actions have set the stage for future change, a change that will ensure no one has to face the kind of humiliation the girl experienced again. As the door closes behind the girl and her father, the tension in the room lingers for a few moments. The students are quiet, processing everything that has just happened. Their whispers of disbelief now turn into conversations about change, about standing up against what's wrong and what they've just witnessed. The power of accountability. It's clear this event will be remembered for years to come. The girl and her father walk together down the hallway, heading toward the principal's office. The air feels lighter now, but the weight of the situation is not lost on them. They know this is more than just about a single teacher's actions. It's about breaking a cycle, changing the atmosphere for all students. This is a small but meaningful victory, a moment of justice in an unjust world. Inside the principal's office, the girl takes a seat next to her father. She looks at him, her eyes filled with gratitude, but also with a mixture of relief and sadness. What happened today should never have occurred, but it did. And now they had to make sure it wouldn't happen again. Her father places his hand on her shoulder, offering a gentle smile. "I'm proud of you," he says. "You stood up for yourself and for others. Not everyone has that kind of courage." The principal walks in, her expression one of sincerity and understanding. She looks directly at the father and daughter, her voice calm but firm. "I want to apologize once again for what you've had to go through. The system failed you today, and I assure you we will make changes. We will address this, not just for you, but for everyone who has been affected." The father nods, appreciating the principal's words, but he knows the real change comes from actions. "I hope this isn't just an empty promise," he says quietly, but with strength in his voice. "We need to see real consequences, not just for my daughter, but for every student who might face the same treatment." The principal nods thoughtfully. "Absolutely. We will be implementing workshops on diversity, sensitivity, and anti-racism. It will be mandatory for all staff and students. This will be part of our new approach to ensure a safe, inclusive, and respectful environment." As the conversation continues, the girl, though still processing everything, begins to feel a sense of hope she didn't have earlier. She had been humiliated, yes, but through her courage, the school was changing, and that gave her a sense of power, of agency that she hadn't had before. Later that week, the school holds an assembly where the principal addresses the entire student body. She speaks about the importance of respect, fairness, and equality. She talks about the incident and the actions taken as a direct result, and she reminds everyone that change is not just about policy, but about the collective responsibility of all students and staff to ensure the school is a place where everyone feels safe. The girl, sitting in the back of the auditorium, feels a shift inside her. It's not just the principal's words, it's the realization that, through her bravery, she has played a role in this shift. The students around her listen carefully, nodding in agreement, their faces serious. There's no denying that this moment is significant. As the assembly ends and the students begin to file out, the girl walks to her locker. Her friends surround her, their eyes full of admiration. They tell her how proud they are of what she did, how it's changed things for all of them. It's a humbling moment, but it's also a moment of recognition that her actions, small as they may have seemed, have sparked something greater. Her father picks her up after school. He smiles as she gets into the car. "How are you feeling?" he asks gently. She looks at him, the weight of the day still on her shoulders but lighter than it had been earlier. "I feel stronger," she says, "like I can do anything now." And as they drive home, the knowledge that their family and their community is growing stronger with each passing day makes the future feel a little brighter. "You were right," the girl murmurs, looking at her father with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you." As the girl and her father step into the house, they can still feel the adrenaline of the moment. The air feels different, as if the house itself has changed, filled with the energy of their victory. Her father's footsteps are steady beside her, but the girl's heart races. She's done it. She stood up for herself, for others, and for what is right. Once they're inside, her mother looks up from her book, her face instantly softening with a knowing smile. "You did it," her mother says, walking over to her daughter. "You're a beacon of strength, and I couldn't be more proud." The girl nods, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips, though her mind is still processing everything that just happened. The way the teacher tried to belittle her, the moment when the judge was about to make his decision, and then her father's arrival, his words, his presence, had completely changed everything. "You were right," the girl murmurs, looking at her father with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you." Her father gives her a reassuring smile, but there's a seriousness in his voice when he replies, "This is just one step. We've opened a door, but there's still so much more to do. What matters is that we keep going, keep speaking up." They all sit down at the table, where her mother pours them each a cup of tea. The girl reflects on how far she's come, not just from the incident, but from all the struggles that have led to this point. She recalls how the judge thought he could control the room, how the teacher tried to humiliate her, but she never let it break her. She was stronger because of her family and because of their encouragement. She knew her voice had the power to make a difference. Her mother, who had always been there for her, adds, "You've shown them what it means to fight for justice, and you've inspired others to do the same. But don't forget, this is just the beginning. The road to equality isn't always clear, but we've got each other." The girl feels a sense of pride in her heart. She hasn't just changed the situation today. She's opened up the potential for long-lasting change. As a family, they have taken a stand, and now, she realizes, they have a responsibility to keep moving forward, to use their power and voice for justice wherever they can. Her father nods at her. "We don't just fight for ourselves. We fight for everyone who feels silenced. The truth is, we don't change the world in one moment, but with every action, we get closer." The girl takes a deep breath, feeling a wave of empowerment. She knows the road ahead won't be easy, but with her family by her side, she is ready. They've started a conversation that can't be undone. Looking around, she feels a quiet determination filling her. Tomorrow, she'll keep fighting, keep pushing for what's right, and keep standing up for the values that her parents have instilled in her. Justice, fairness, and equality for all. As the days pass, the weight of the events begins to settle into a comfortable place in the girl's heart. She knows that what happened wasn't just a victory for her, but for everyone who had been silenced by injustice before. It was a small win, but it felt monumental. The message of what she stood for, fairness, equality, and standing up for what's right, echoes through her thoughts as she reflects on the events. At school, she now walks with a renewed sense of confidence. When she enters a room, there's a quiet but noticeable shift in how others treat her. Her classmates, once unsure of her strength, now look at her with respect. She's no longer just the girl who kept to herself. She's the one who taught everyone the true meaning of courage. People who were once silent are now speaking up, and the girl knows that her actions have sparked something larger. Her actions have inspired others to follow suit. The teacher's behavior may have gone unchallenged for years, but the girl's response was a catalyst that sparked a wave of awareness. What started as a single act of defiance grew into a movement, one that encouraged others to find their voice and use it for the betterment of their community. The community has begun to shift. More students stand up for what's right, not just when they're directly involved, but when they see others in need of help. It's the beginning of a cultural change, one that values justice, equality, and the courage to speak out when faced with wrong. Looking ahead, the girl knows this is only the beginning. There are still so many battles to be fought, so many wrongs to be righted. But with her family, her friends, and her unwavering determination, she is ready for whatever comes next. As she stands tall, walking with a sense of pride, she knows that each step she takes is won. Her father, who always knew how strong she was, watches this transformation with pride. The conversation they shared in the living room still lingers in his mind. "Keep your head up. Keep fighting," he had told her. Those words continue to guide her through each new challenge. He sees in her the person she was always meant to be, a leader who stands tall for justice. At home, her mother is more than just a support system. She is a source of wisdom. Every conversation with her mother feels like an important lesson about justice, fairness, and never compromising on your values. The girl knows that her mother has fought many of the same battles, and she feels proud to carry on that legacy. The girl often thinks about how far she's come from that initial confrontation with the teacher. What once seemed like a terrifying challenge now feels like just one chapter in a much bigger journey. She's learned that standing up for yourself doesn't mean just speaking in the moment. It means keeping your values close to your heart and using your voice when it's most needed. It's about creating lasting change, one conversation at a time. Her actions have inspired others to follow suit. The teacher's behavior may have gone unchallenged for years, but the girl's response was a catalyst that sparked a wave of awareness. What started as a single act of defiance grew into a movement, one that encouraged others to find their voice and use it for the betterment of their community. The community has begun to shift. More students stand up for what's right, not just when they're directly involved, but when they see others in need of help. It's the beginning of a cultural change, one that values justice, equality, and the courage to speak out when faced with wrong. Looking ahead, the girl knows this is only the beginning. There are still so many battles to be fought, so many wrongs to be righted. But with her family, her friends, and her unwavering determination, she is ready for whatever comes next. As she stands tall, walking with a sense of pride, she knows that each step she takes is one toward a brighter, more just future for everyone. Her mother smiles knowingly as she watches her daughter, a young woman now standing on the threshold of something much bigger than herself. The world needs more people like you, her mother tells her, eyes gleaming with pride. And you'll keep fighting for what's right, just as we always have. As the girl steps into the world ready to continue her journey, she carries the lessons of justice and equality. They are not just words to her. They are the foundation of everything she does, everything she stands for. This fight for what's right is far from over, but she knows that with every person she touches, with every word she speaks, the world becomes just a little bit better.